The world we live in is full of wolf-hearted people, eager to feast on your self-respect and shove you out of alignment with God if you let them. Even people who greet you as friend will sometimes try to pull you below your own standard, treating your loyalty like an all-you-can-eat buffet if you let them. Whether or not they succeed depends on how you value yourself.
Netta, I'm very grateful for you because you're helping me. One of my goals for this year with this podcast is to actually have hosted a live podcast. And you're the first one I'm actually
Oh,
hosting this year.
oh,
So
yay.
you're helping me as well. And I can't wait to just hear your thoughts on this book and to just learn from you, because that's kind of been the whole premise with my podcast. You know, us Gen Zers, I feel like sometimes we don't have the guidance or the wisdom, the life experience we need, or sometimes we don't have it in our family or friends. So
Mm-hmm.
getting that from the guests that I have has helped me and my friends, actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I don't know how many of the people in the room are familiar with you and the Black experience, but Ermias has a lot of experience. This might be his first live on Substack, but he has over 300 videos on his YouTube channel and over 10,000. Hey, I'm gonna brag for you, bro.
Thank,
Over
thank you.
10,000
Thank you.
subscribers.
This is your party, Netta. Remember, this is
I
yours
know it's
now.
not my party. It's all of our party. We partying together.
We're
That's what
partying together.
community do. Listen, Jackie has taught us to party together.
Yes,
We don't wolf alone,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
But yeah, so I hope people check you out. So this might be your first live, but not clearly not your first interview, not your first conversation, and elevating Black voices. So
Absolutely,
so thank you
absolutely.
for that.
No,
Yes.
thank you, thank you. Well, Netta, with that, I think we should get jumping. So, welcome to everyone that is joining us today. It is an exciting day. Welcome to the Burnett Drop live transmission party.
Yes.
Anyone that doesn't know Netta already, she is the author of the Book of Burnett, 42 Truths for Living Life Well, Fully, and Without Regret, that's dropped today.
Yay.
Yes, yes. She's the founder of True Society, helping a guide for Black women getting out of disconnection and living on 10, as she likes to say, which I love.
Yeah.
And so with that, Netta, welcome to the show. Thank you for collaborating with me. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the Black experience showing up for me. It means the world. I can't express it, how much it means to me. I'm joyful to be in company with young Black men. And I mean that in a good,
Excellent.
positive, most respectful way, because I think intergenerational conversations, I think, are so important to us. There's much to put forward and to move backwards. Together we are incredible. you know Bundles of sticks together are very difficult to break, and it takes all of us, the elders, the youngs, the babies. It takes all of us moving in our true selves
Yes.
to move things forward and build communities that stand, that support one another, that look out for one another, and kind of embrace that we go up together.
Mhm.
you know my the true self message is living high, living on 10, elevated, free, and joy filled every day. And it is possible. I'm not talking about happiness. I'm not talking about not experiencing struggle, but it's a choice to rise above those and really to do what I saw my dad do so often, to turn mistakes into stepping stones,
Mm-hmm.
not derail you, but to lift you higher. So that's what I hope to do, as part of community, as working in collaborations with people like you and the people on this call, because together is how we get there. Together is how our ancestors got there,
Yes,
how they made it through uh, torturous situations. And
absolutely.
that's how we'll make it through as well.
As well in 2026. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of me and my friends like to say, teamwork makes the dream work. Being in
Yes.
sports, being in whatever. So it
Yes.
you can't
Yes.
understate that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And it's a mindset to shed the falsities, shed the conditioning that there is lack, that there's not enough, that for me to win, you have to lose. Of what?
yeah.
What?
Mhm.
No. The universe is abundant and we are the universe. I think I restacked, someone posted earlier, you know, you are the universe observing yourself.
Mhm.
That's what we are made of. That's what our true self is. And what I'm helping people, and the message that I want to send is that to get back into our true self and to elevate to that height where we're supposed to live all the
Mhm.
time. The mystics showed us that. The mystics showed us how to do that. We have to remember and return to that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Netta, one of the burning questions that I've had from the jump when I heard about your book drop and that you were doing this tour
Mhm.
was, first of all, you're doing it in honor of your father, who would have been 95 today. So
Okay.
happy birthday to him. Uh,
Mhm.
from those 42 truths that you've compiled in that book that
Mhm.
we'll be able to read, is there one that, let's say, stands out to you that you particularly want people to focus on, or is it all of them?
Sure, sure, sure. Good question. And I will answer it like this. The 42 truths and wisdom that made it into the book are just 42 of the many things my dad lived by. He was really one of the first true self persons I ever knew, although I didn't have that language then when he was here. But he was confident in who he was by himself, although he loved people and he loved community, but he didn't need cheerleaders. He didn't need people to tell him anything about himself. It was him and God as one, and that was enough. But he loved expressing that in community and helping one another lift each other up. So the first thing I'll say is all 42 are important because even though this is the book of Burnett, these are the things my dad talked about. It wasn't about him, and this book is not about him. It's about you. It's about each of us. Um, a lot of times, our conditioning have taught us that the treasure is out there, but the
Mm-hmm.
treasure is not out there. The treasure is in here. The treasure is in me. This is like non-religious conversation. It's a non-religious book, but a lot of the spiritual and religious teachings will say the kingdom is within. God is within. God is within us. So that means the treasure is here, not out there. So this book in its entirety is about you and how you choose to live your life, how you choose to show up, how you operate deliberately to create the things you want to experience in your life. Um, you know, f- Folks I've come across a lot of times will say, I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever asked me what I wanted. So I don't know. And I will tell them, sit down, be still, and let that be your first assignment to find out who you are and what you want. Because without that, you will be like a leaf blowing around in the wind.
Right.
Anything that comes out on the outside will tell you who you are and where to go and what you should do. And you'll be roaming around, you
Mm-hmm.
know, going from hither to yonder, as our ancestors would say, without creating anything until you become grounded. So first, the whole book is about you and how you choose to live and it being a guide to help you. And then the second thing that support that are two of the 42 that I do want to kind of dive into,
Sure.
if it's okay,
Of
in
course.
celebrating the transmission day of the Book of Burnett. So, consistent with the treasure being within, one of my dad's sayings, and these are things my brothers and I grew up with, things
Mhm.
he would talk about, things he would say all the time. Some he borrowed, some he birthed, but all that he lived. And one of those is chapter 30 that says, "Don't play yourself cheap."
Mm.
So he was a big proponent of valuing yourself. And I wanted to read the first three verses. So the book of Burnett is written in chapter and verse. And I did that intentionally because it so mirrors and mimics my dad. He was a pastor for almost 50 years,
Mm.
Christian, Black Baptist, and everything that encounters. He was a healthy man. He was almost 90 when he left here 5 years ago. And he ate anything, fried chicken, collard greens, Black Baptist, and all the stereotypes that go along
That
with
came
that.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that goes along with that. But he valued how you think about yourself, how you treat yourself, how you present yourself when you walk into a room. Those things were important to him. So in chapter 30, verses 1 through 3 says this: "The world we live in," let me get a little bit of a help so I make sure I don't miss any words here. "The world we live in is full of wolf-hearted people, eager to feast on your self respect and shove you out of alignment with God if you let them. Even people who greet you as friend will sometimes try to pull you below your own standard, treating your loyalty like an all you can eat buffet if you let them. Whether or not they succeed depends on how you value yourself." And I say that because, again, going back to the clarity of who you are, what you want, those things are like pavers to getting to true self. Um, I today was a is a celebratory day for me. I feel on a high. I feel great,
Mm.
but despite hearing news that one of my college sorority sisters passed away today,
Oh, I'm so sorry for
totally
that.
honest, totally unexpected. Kind of out of the blue. So it was shocking and saddening.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've learned about people leaving, transitioning, death, whatever you want to call it, since my mother left 10 years ago, my dad 5 years ago, and anyone in between, is that with each transition, I gain more clarity about how I want to live this minute right now. And crap that doesn't the things we used to value doesn't mean a whole lot. We get to decide what's valuable for our time, how we're going to invest our time, our energy. And with people leaving, it shows me the importance of doing the things that are important to me, holding to my standards, spending my time the way I want to, carving out a life that I want, not what other people say is the standard or is the important thing, or having this car or having this bigger house or wearing these types of clothes or going to these places, whatever those are. That's the world's definition.
Hmm. Yeah.
But to me, this space is too precious to follow somebody else's path. I woke up to that almost 15 years ago in that, marriage spiraling down the drain.
Yeah.
Like, why am I living this? This is not even me. Where am I in this? Yeah, that stops now. And again, that kind of birth my true self platform, my true self message, because we don't have time
No.
to be somebody else. There's no need for us to be somebody else.
Hmm.
We should be ourselves. So that was that one, play yourself cheap. The second one if I may bear your indulgence, is one that we heard a lot too. Chapter 3, Haste Makes Waste. So one thing about my dad, he was very contemplative. He did not react to knee jerk things. He got news, he got a dilemma, a problem to solve, whatever. He thought about it. He addressed it calmly. He did not rush about it. He would go probably turn inward, and then respond to it. So this one, he said, when you are in a hurry, you make mistakes, you lose time, you spend money you don't need, you make mistakes that you have to go back and redo. Haste makes waste is his thing. So chapter 3, starting with verse 13. Are you that one always in a hurry, eating the sour fruit of hastiness while wondering why life feels thin and strained, moving fast but feeling behind, busy but unfulfilled? Wisdom does not celebrate haste. It honors patience, diligence, and steady faithfulness. The farmer does not rush the harvest. The builder does not hurry the foundation. Bible tells us that even God, who could do all things in an instant, chose 6 days to create and a day to rest. That alone says something sacred about the pace of purpose. So that was a big
Wow.
thing.
Yeah.
Haste makes waste.
Haste me. Netta, I'm so, and that's so true. And I think that's something for me because I am always in my head. I'm thinking, how can I be as productive as I can? How can I make this day as efficient as I can? And I'm always in this rush to maybe someone listening right now that's saying, okay, haste makes waste, but what if I'm trying to get as many things done as I can in this day, accomplish all my goals? How do you balance between not rushing as well as, being productive, I guess?
Yes. Being productive and having goals is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hasting to accomplish them is another. So sometimes, again, when you're moving quick and fast to do things, a lot of times you lose intention, you lose precision, you lose things that can help you accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish in a smarter way, in a
Mm-hmm.
smarter, more efficient way. So the question would be, how long is your to-do list for today, and does that fit with your true self?
Mm.
Are you trying to make it happen? Is it happening through you? Is it just you doing it? Because if it's just us doing it, just the human, just the earth without the heaven, then we do have to work hard. We're hustling. That becomes that grind. Because we're doing it.
Right.
We're doing it by ourselves. But
Ourselves.
in your true self, you're doing it with the we. It's heaven and earth,
Yeah.
feminine and masculine.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, you
it's
need
the
both.
there. Yeah, is that oneness coming, and it doesn't have to hurry. So those are two different things. You can have a to-do list of things I want to get done. I'm a big to-do list person myself. Things I want to get done, whatever today, I write them down because that is a part of my intention, and part of my focus. But if I don't get them all done, I still count that good, because evidently there was something that did not have to be done, or maybe something else showed up to say, do this.
Yeah.
Right. So in our true self, when we get to our true self, we do make space for the unseen. We
Mm.
make space for the heaven to say, oh, yeah, we know you had 10 on your list, but we got this one that trumps all of them.
Because of the
So now,
importance of it.
yeah,
Right.
the flexibility, the adjustment, the alignment, because there are things we don't know in earth
Mm-hmm.
and things we can tap into heaven. Even with our earth and our heaven, we don't see everything,
Yeah.
right? The whole sees everything. I believe, in my view, we're pieces of the whole, and we can get a good thing for our piece, but we don't see everything. So we trust the whole to see what we don't see and to tell us. I don't know about you, but so many times I get the umption of, no, don't do this, do that. And when I ignore it, that's the haste make waste. That's the ignorance
Hmm.
that mucks things up. So many lessons where I was told to do something clear as day, didn't do it because da, 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 and I paid a price for it. That
Mm.
to me is heaven, spirit, God, whatever your, you know, preferred name for that energy telling me, right? Because if we ask, it's coming.
Yeah.
Now, is this up to us to receive it? Just like the things in the book of Burnett. It could be a million pages. If you don't receive one page, that's up to you. Is there laid? The table is spread, the banquet is laid out there, but it's up to us
It's
to
up to
choose
us.
to eat, right? To choose to digest, to choose to incorporate and integrate that in what we're doing and where we're going. That requires flexibility,
Hmm.
ability to shift.
You gotta have that. Gotta have
Yeah,
that. Yeah. I
yeah.
see. We have a question by Randolph in here. Question for you,
Okay.
Netta. He's saying, "What were your father's favorite situations to share his wisdom at a dinner table, picnics, when he was disciplining you for misbehavior?"
Randall, what makes you think he had to discipline? Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm not even gonna I'm not even gonna front on that. Yeah. But although my mother was a disciplinarian in the house, she only called on the big guns when she
Yeah.
had to. And none of us wanted to go there. So we were fine with that. But my dad, he loved to spit wisdom anytime he had a listening ear. And I say at one time, he would just slide that truth across the table like a slice of sweet potato pie. Because anytime anyone would sit down with him, it could be probably his favorite place was on the couch in the den, in his comfort chair. Somebody stopped by and he'd have a conversation with them that way. But he was a preacher. So he loved ministry. He loved the pulpit. He loved sermons. He loved getting that out. And he would enjoy expressing and transmitting this information more than the person receiving it. It was his joy to do those types of things. But all of those ran off above the dinner table, in the pulpit at church, at family gatherings. One-on-one conversations. He was an open door to any of us. Usually it wasn't in a discipline area for him because again, that wasn't his thing. But when people would come and say, hey, I have this question, I have this dilemma, what do you think about that? It was his joy to answer those questions, to say something about it. I remember when I had followed the yellow brick road that he and my mother had laid out for us. Pretty much the era they come from was get an education, get a job, work that job for 40 years, retire, and then you'll be ready to go to heaven. That was kind of the pattern
The blueprint.
from their
Yeah.
experience, from what they had come from. So I had done that, got the 2 degrees, got a job, on, corporate America, you know, the good job,
Hmm.
but it wasn't fulfilling. I could do it. I was good at it. Things were going fine, but it wasn't fulfilling. I wanted to leave that job and start a Christian magazine.
Yeah.
And so I went to him, you know, shaking like a leaf, just thinking of what he would tell me, how crazy I am, to leave this and do that. But so I went to him, told him what I wanted to do, and he's first thing, have you talked to God about it? And what do you know about it? Well, it's in his bottom line was, you know more than me
Yeah.
about what this is. If this is calling you, then go do it. And if it doesn't work out, fine. You've learned a lesson and you can go get another job. That's what he said. I was speechless, that was his reaction.
Yeah.
But he was supportive, but he was sharing that one of the truths that made the book, nothing beats a failure but a try. Is that if you don't try, you've already failed.
It's 99% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
100%. 100% of the shots
That's
you don't take. Yeah.
that's right. Right. Nothing beats a failure but a try. His thing was, oh, take a risk. Make sure it's a calculated risk, though. Don't just step out there. Count the cost. Do whatever you can do, and then let spirit do the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his, one of the things not to be, not just me, but other people in his congregation, my nieces and nephew he would counsel them the same way. That was his joy. And he had the receipts for it. It wasn't theory that he was talking about. It was thing that he had lived. He had lived being broke
Mm-hmm.
and borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. One of the things in the book to say, don't do that. Here's how to avoid that. He had lived having vision, doing something that hadn't been done, before. We grew up on a rural road where the houses were wooden A-frame, with no indoor facilities. He comes along and build the first brick house with indoor facility on this road as a black man, in the 1950s, which was odd in the South.
Mm-hmm.
So he understood having a dream, having a vision, having something gnawing at you to want to do it. Just
Take that
calculate
first
it.
step. Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
Did your Netta, when you think about your father, because you're saying a lot of the wisdom that he bestowed upon you was from his lived experiences. Now,
Yeah,
did you get a chance to kind of see if your father had a maybe role model or something? Did he get that from his father or his grandfather? Some of the stuff that he's taught you and passed along down to you.
that's a good question. Um, I would say probably partially he was active in the community as a young man, as a young adult, active in church, and I think he tapped into the good things he saw there. His father, my grandfather, was an alcoholic. So he saw things through that lens that did not speak well to him. So it told him things what not to be. And sometimes we get clarity on what to be by seeing what we don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
We know what we want to be by seeing things that we don't like. And I don't think that wasn't a path that he saw as being good. The alcoholic behavior and what that drove his father to the decisions his father made because of that. But he would work jobs, he would learn from the people who he worked for, and I think he just had kind of a drive that I'm want to get things done.
Yeah.
And yeah, but in doing that, he made mistakes or he came up against a hurdle. But his position was, that doesn't mean I'm going down the wrong path per se. That doesn't mean I've done something wrong. It means I'm learning
You're learning from it.
and to not repeat that mistake again.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't learn and we keep going around the mountain. We keep going around the same thing because we refuse to learn the lesson of the first mistake we made.
Or even
Here's
ask
the
for help too, right?
huh? Huh?
Or even ask for help, but kind of going
Yeah,
back to what you're saying, like
yeah,
involving the community.
yeah, yeah. Asking for help. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He had a innate leadership of in him. Where he picked it up, I'm not sure if it was outside of him or inside of him, but when I came along, that was part of his role. Like I said, he was very in church. He had leadership roles at church. A couple of times, the pastor of our church, became vacant. Didn't have a pastor. That happened in the middle of the bill of a new infrastructure. So he led that build. He led the congregation, and he led that build into a new church. They marched into the new church without a pastor. But at that time, he was the chairman of the deacon board at a young age. And, and people trusted him, looked up to him, because I think he was just committed to that type of lifestyle. At an early age, he made decisions about the life he wanted to live, and,
Yeah.
and he made it happen.
Well, sometimes when you get thrown into the fire, you have no choice but to
Yeah,
but to show up and lock in and make it happen.
and make it happen. Yeah,
So,
I remember I wasn't born then, but he would tell the story. Not often. He's a veteran of the Army. He got drafted into the military. Flew from a little town, rural town, Athens, Georgia, to Germany, and he hated every minute. He hated it, and he would do things to get out of it.
mhm.
One of the things he did, he said at night he would stick his head out the window, freezing cold, I guess to try to get sick so he could get a leave of whatever. However, his desire finagled itself.
Yeah.
2 years after he got an honorable discharge from the Army after 2 years, and I think that was just his intent to not
Yes.
be there.
Yeah. So it worked. Sticking his head
Yes.
out the window worked.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't dishonorable. He didn't commit a crime. He didn't do anything, but he said, "I don't want to be here. I'm going to do what I can do, and then ask the creation, ask the universe to do what I cannot do to
Mm.
get me out of here." Yeah. Then
Yeah.
he was okay with it, but he didn't really shine light on that part of his life, I guess, because he just did not like it.
He didn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just an example of life throwing you something. You get drafted, you going, especially that time, that era of life. Him and so many of his peers, you're going. You get dealt that. But again, we can decide how we're going to receive that thing.
Hmm.
We can decide what choices we make around these things showing up in our lives. And I think that's what I want people to get from the book of Burnett, that we get to choose. This is about you, your life, how you want to live it, and your choices in doing that. And there's no benefit to blame others, although maybe some things happen to us. Things happen to us. People do things to us that we may not have control over, particularly as young people, as children, as dependents. And that's where the healing come in. That's where the strength to look at those things versus ignore them. Look
Yeah.
at them, get help to heal from them,
Yeah.
and figure out, how do I turn this into a stepping stone? How do I accept that this happened to me, but it wasn't my doing? And it doesn't have to be my end. It doesn't have to be my downfall. I can take steps
Hmm.
to make it a stepping stone
Hmm.
versus a crutch, versus something that weighs me down
Hmm.
for the rest of my life. And a
Yeah.
lot of times that is us being bold enough to let it go. I mean, I know people who have made their wounds into wet blankets, or into maybe cushion blankets, warm
Yeah.
cushionary blankets that they hold on to for dear life, and refuse to look at it and let it go. But yet they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. And at some point, that's not the source of the wound.
Hmm.
That's us embracing the wound, and and putting food, laying down food at the wound, like nurturing and cultivating the wound, instead of saying, okay, we're going this way, and when you're part of us, you're going to have to change your attire, in an honest way. We're not talking about faking, we're not talking about performative. We're not talking about pretension. This has to be truth. This has to be spirit and truth. But those things can change to join the rest of you and say, okay, now everybody's going in this direction, and we're not entertaining weights that's going to weigh us down.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's
I know
beautiful.
it's easier said than done, but it is doable. And the step one is self accountability. We're taking the reins back. I'm gonna be goddess. Somebody else gonna be God. We're gonna be our little gods and own this stuff for ourselves.
Mm,
All of it,
mhm.
right? All of it.
Netta, when you think about your book, were there any challenges that you encountered when you were during the process of writing this book?
I would say no. Um, Again, because it was so familiar. What kind of prompted the writing down is over these 5 years, I kept hearing Dad's voice, and it kept coming up over and over and over again. The things that made it into the books are the things that I would speak to my children, or when I'm talking to my brothers, it's one of these things will come up, and we laugh and joke about it and everything, and all the time. And I started thinking, this is a recurring message here. What what are you telling me, Dad? So I started to write it down. I started to ask my brothers, what do you remember? What all do you remember? And we just the list of 20 turned into 30, turned into 50, and it just kept going. But somewhere the 42 landed. So once I kind of settled on the 42, then I started remembering what Dad would say about these things, and just started to write them down, and start to have conversations with him and say, what did you mean? What, when you were saying this, what was happening in your life? Don't play yourself cheap. What was happening for you to say that?
Yeah.
It's saying you play yourself cheap, other people gonna play you cheap. You know, um, so it was a channeling. It
Mm,
was a channeling effort. So this book is a self-published effort. So probably any challenges maybe came from production. It wasn't so much the content; it was the production of the content. But I enjoyed that journey too. Again, make a mistake. Okay, I got to learn from it. Make an error. Okay, I got to learn from it. And being okay with that. But no
yeah.
real challenges in
Uh,
writing it. The first one, oh, that was challenging.
yeah.
Just fictionalizing the story and making it tie into um an era 2 and 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Making sure those things tucked and tied and lined, and why in that book I use ethnic names like Dawit instead of David, which a lot of people we had to have conversations about it.
As a common name, by the way, in me being from
Yes,
Eritrea, it's a common name in our region, in
absolutely.
Ethiopian
Absolutely.
Eritrea.
In that region of the world
Yeah. Yeah.
where the Bible take place, those names are common. We have adopted the anglicized version of it, but I wanted to be as true as I could to that era. So I create a glossary of names to go with it to help people digest these names. But still, I wanted to honor that, and to honor that these people probably don't look the way we think they look when we're reading the Bible,
Mhm.
or how Hollywood has told us these people look, or sound, or their names, or those things. So that's why I did that. So yeah. So when you ask that question, I am comparing those two to say, yeah, the first book, lots of challenges. Took
Another
me
challenge.
like 5 years to do that. Yeah, this one. almost a piece of cake in comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's your dad, and you've lived the experiences with him, and
Yeah. I
so
yeah, I heard it most of all of my life, and I still hear it, and now I'm repeating it to my children so many times. Haste make waste. Nothing beat a failure but a try. Yeah.
do you have any? I guess this could tie one with the book, but just in general, when you think about your father, do you have
Mhm.
any favorite memories with him? Any memorable things that you always go back to when you think of him?
Yeah. So many. So many that he loved people and he loved family. He was patriarch from a young age, especially his dad died before I was born. So again, the lifestyle of his dad sometimes attract early exits sometimes.
Mm,
So he was gone before I got here. So my dad was the, patriarch for his mother, his sibling. He was the oldest son at that time. Loved family. Would have a Fourth of July cookout at the house every year. I don't know, for 15 years. He would do that. We would take family vacations together with my siblings, their families, my family. We all do that. I think the most stark story that I will never ever forget, and I've told this before, was when I was maybe 14, wanted a leather jacket for Christmas, and we drive an hour from Athens to the big city of Atlanta to the malls looking for this jacket. And he was on a mission. He was laser focused to find that thing. And yeah, we did. But the message to me was, here is an adult man. I'm the youngest child. I'm 14. He could be doing so many things. He's pastoring. He could be doing so many other things, but he's spending his time going around to ladies' shops and asking them, "Hey, do you guys have leather jackets?" Yeah, we're looking. and and it meant that I meant something to him, and it showed his investment in me
mm,
over something he could care less about. The thing he cared about was showing up for me in that moment. And he did that in many ways for many people, but that is the one that will stick for me forever, because one of the things he always said too, love is action.
mm.
Love is not words. You can use words, but that's not what love is.
Yeah,
Love is action. So this was a way that he expressed that to me that I'll never forget. Yeah. So yeah, we come back with a leather jacket. My mom, she gives up. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not doing this.
yeah.
I'm gonna sit here. I'll be here when you guys finish trekking them all." Yeah. I'm gonna do
And did he
that.
end up finding it?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, yeah. Same thing when I got my first car. He was like, "Hey, I'll help you get a car." One, he wanted me to stay in town to go to college at home
Yeah.
versus going off to college. So later on, I thought, wait, I think that was a bribe. But he's like, "I'll help you get a car if you stay here." Did that when I got my second car. He took me to wherever, got that. It was just there, showing up, being there, present
Wow.
there till the end, to the end. And he left here 5 years ago, December.
Mm,
And about 2 years before he left, I walk into his room. My mom left 5 years before he did,
mhm.
almost. So I would go to visit him and help him do things, with the house and shopping and things like that. When he got to where he needed help, I moved back to help him, um, you know, live and stay in his house. About 2 years before he left, I walk into his room and he was flat on the bed. His back was flat on his bed, his feet on the floor, knees bent on his bed. And I could see he was breathing. And so I gently kind of nudged him like, Dad. And he wakes up. He was fast asleep. He wakes up and he chuckled at himself, he sits up on the side of the bed, chuckles and laugh, and he says, one day you're gonna walk in here and find me dead. And I'm like, oh my God. And he said, but don't be upset. I don't want you to guys to be sad. Don't be upset at all. He says, I've lived a good life and I have no regret.
Mm.
And that was that. That's another thing I will never forget, to be, his late 80s and to say he had no regret. He didn't mean he had not made a mistake, but again, he used those mistakes to elevate. And that's why the book is 42 Truths for Living Well, Fully, and Without
Without
Regret.
regret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people say, oh, that's impossible. Everybody has regret. And I think it's perspective, like his perspective. I've lived a good life. I have no regret,
Yeah.
you know?
It really does come down to perspective. Because, and kind of another the way I see it is like, I mean, I've thought about it. I have some regrets, let's say, but in order for one thing to change in my past, then that means another thing might have to change. And
Yes.
that might change my trajectory to
Yes.
who I am today. Because, I'll be honest with you, I never thought I'd be doing a podcast, hosting people like
Yeah.
yourself, and so
Yeah.
I think that's very true. That's very true.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to sit with that one too, because I'm thinking, hey, I was in an incompatible marriage for far too long. Okay, do I regret that? Well, I wish I had decided earlier to change that situation for me versus going along with it for what I thought others expected of me.
Mhm.
But out of that came me.
Yeah.
Out of that came me. Out of that came two wonderful children. Out of that came good things. And I can tell other people, like, don't do that.
Yeah. And speaking of a marriage to Netta, Randolph asks, as the father of two unmarried women in their 20s, I'm wondering what advice your father gave you as you entered your marriage.
Very good question.
Very good question.
Good question. Yes. So my parents did come from the show don't talk kind of era. They lived their belief out loud, but a lot of things, conversations were taboo. So they would say the path: graduate high school, graduate college, get a good job, get married, have children, buy a house, dog, fence, white pick, that type of a thing. So marriage was an automatic thing on the brick road, or on the expected yellow brick road. But they did not talk a lot about being married. They did not talk a lot about expectations of man and woman, or couples in a marriage. A lot of things that are really important: sexual energy, communication, all those things were not discussed. And I saw my parents' interactions. I saw what they did and didn't do, how my dad would talk a lot about the truth in the book. And a lot of the things that are important to a marriage, I made errant assumptions about, based on my parents,
Mhm.
thinking that that's automatic.
Right.
So I would say, Randolph, not a lot came from my parents, but a lot comes from me. Because I didn't have those discussions, I am adamant about having those discussions with my children, and really, like my dad, anyone who's willing to listen. And if you are receptive, Randolph, my big message for anyone thinking of coupling up, whether that's in a legal marriage or not, I would say compatibility is key. That it look for 80% compatibility, and I mean in thinking, on baseline things. I don't mean you have to like the same music or the same ice cream. I mean your thoughts about money, your thoughts about um, physical intimacy, your thoughts about integrity need to be aligned. Now, how those things are aligned, you might have two couples who think lying is gold, that if you don't lie, you're not a human.
Yeah.
They may work out because they're compatible at that level.
Right.
What it might work out to probably won't be that good, but they'll understand it in like manner. Um, when I was growing up, like I said, I grew up in a Christian Black Baptist household. I was fed a rich diet of Bible. One of those things were, be equally yoked. But
Mm-hmm.
that explanation pretty much stopped at your religious affiliation. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how you think, how you see the world, how you move forward. You want to get some level of compatibility in that. And, in our community, 80-20 probably works. We don't want an identical person because we don't need to be with someone identical to us.
Mm.
There is excitement in having some sharpening going on between the two, different ideas, different viewpoints. And because we come from two different backgrounds, it will be different. But you must be able to speak the same language. My partner and I could not speak the same language. And it just births things that you don't want to experience. You want to be able to speak the same language.
Yeah. And so a question I have on this topic, Netta, because I'm not married yet. Do
Okay.
want to get married, but is this how do is it just like a if you're on a first date with this person, is it a conversation you got to have then about these things? Second date, like how early on do you got to have these conversations before you take it into proposing and marriage and beyond?
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Jackie, for joining us. We see you. I'll catch you later. Um, I would say a first step is knowing yourself again, and having an understanding of your worldview, how you see the world, what you think, and being honest with yourself about those things. Because if you don't know yourself, you won't know compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
Once you got that, okay, good, Randolph. Definitely, Randolph, have those conversations with your daughters and be open to talk about anything. Okay? Anything without judgment,
Mm-hmm.
to hear, you have your input, but be open to talking about anything. Like I said, with my children, that's how I am. Even if I'm squeezing my gluteus maximus so hard, that I can barely sit down, I will have those conversations with my children. But I think, again, Hermes, it's knowing yourself and then your intent. You going on a date with somebody, what is your intent? Is it just to just have a nice evening out, which is fine? Are you looking to have a longer term relationship that may or may not end in marriage? Are you looking for a life partner? So those are the things we have to kind of work out within ourselves. What are we looking for, and why am I contacting this person and saying, "Hey, let's go
Yeah.
out for dinner"? Once you kind of know what that is, it will guide the conversation toward that thing. And at some point, you would want to know, well, why are they here?
Yeah.
Why did they say yes? Are we on the same page? For some people, that could take time to
Mm.
to determine those things, to find out what's compatible. But you want to be asking questions that answer your compatibility from knowing yourself. Some people, they know right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people, they know right away whether this thing is right. My nephew, um, he's a trained attorney, practicing attorney, met his wife through a common friend. Somebody said, "Oh, you guys seem to be the same.
Be a good
You
match.
got you
Yeah.
got a connection." Somebody kind of hooked them up and said they should go out. They went out for coffee, and what was going to be an hour conversation turned into a 3 or 4 hour conversation. Her background was also legal, the legal system like thing. They ended up exchanging, they ended up talking about, children, money, all of the big ones.
Everything.
And they exchanged personal information. They both had access to background checks
Right
and
there on the
all of
spot?
that doing background checks.
That's
All that
crazy.
stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and they are so compatible.
Yeah.
They are so compatible. 3 years later, they get married, and the rest is history. Sometimes it happens like that, but again, it's kind of what you're looking for and where you're headed toward, and can you see it? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And checking what others taught us about things like that. Some people I know, they were taught, oh, marry someone who's very physically attractive.
Yeah.
When you get that message growing up, you're like, okay, this person is cute. This person feels good. That's as far as you're looking.
Right.
But that's why you check yourself to see, is that enough for me? And if you ask anybody, they will say no. That's
Yeah.
not enough,
No, no.
because that changes every
Yeah.
day.
Look, they certainly do. They certainly do.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, Netta, believe it or not, we are actually coming up on the end. We're coming up very close. Almost been an hour, believe it or not.
When,
But I know time just
where did it go?
right.
Where did it go? This has been such a wonderful conversation, a wonderful
It has been.
time. Yeah, I thank you so much for honoring this project and this transmission and me. I know my dad is just sitting in a comfortable chair, smiling and just, enjoying all of this.
Mhm.
And my mom and the ancestors and everything, because when we can get together, chop it up, talk some truth, help elevate somebody, shed some light, whatever little bit it might be, to come together, it's good. It's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is a beautiful thing you've done for your father. And it is, again, happy birthday to him. Um, one more thing before we close too is, again, where can people find this book? Anyone that hasn't gotten this book yet, Nana, please plug all the places that people can get their hands on this book.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course, I would love for everyone to get your own transmission, read it, tell me about it. I'd love to chat it up with you, and you can get the book anywhere you buy books. Books are sold anywhere. If you go to my website, nettafei.com, click on books, you'll find a link there. On True Self Society, there's some posts on the page that has links and stuff to the page. It's out there everywhere. Thank you, Empress, for coming. Thank all of you for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you,
I
everyone. Yeah.
love
Thank
you
you.
all. You guys are
Thank you
so
all.
smart and wise, and I learned so much from you. And I just love this community of people that I'm connected with. I I, I
Absolutely.
I can't express that uh, more. And now, the Black experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, thank you for teaming up with me, Netta. Much appreciated. I really appreciate you. And yeah, and anyone that has not already done it, you can follow and subscribe to the Black Experience on YouTube, Instagram, at the Black Experience Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, on all platforms out there, and you'll be able to catch this Q&A as well. So thank y'all so much. Netta, thank you. Thank you for
Thank
joining me today.
you. Thank you. Love you. Love
Thank you.
you.
Tell
Love you.
everybody. We'll see y'all
Bye,
later.
everybody. Bye.